Hi, my name is Elliot John, and I'm a project engineer at Walls and Krenzer. And these are the Walls and Krenzer roll down flood doors. Walls and Krenzer roller doors, and they have two different cycles: an open close cycle and a compression cycle. They function using this control box here to the left of each door. So right now the door is in the open position. You can see, pressing the close button will swing the door down. As the door comes down, you'll notice there is a safety feature at the bottom here, an infrared laser that goes in between the two doors. If that laser is tripped, the door will stop for a safety feature, bring itself back up. Right. We recommend that if the door is going back up, let it complete its cycle coming all the way up before you try to bring it down again. The moment as the door goes up, it'll stop itself at the top of its cycle. No need to press the stop button. All the way down. If you find that when you're closing the door, it doesn't close with the buttons, and you have full power, check these infrared sensors. They may be misaligned, in which case you'll notice that one has no light, one does have a light. That's how you know that it has an unbroken beam. Two lights means a broken beam. So this is the control box for the roll down barrier. You can see the open, stop, close, compression off, compression on, and emergency stop. If the door is open, the first thing you're going to want to do is press the close button to close the door. And so sometimes the panels have a tendency to rock on a windy day, or if there's a lot of vibrations happening on the loading bay. You'll notice the panels here have become misaligned instead of lining up like the other ones. In that case, just open the door up slightly, stop it, and reclose this, and it'll align itself. Once the door is fully closed, you're going to want to engage the compression cycle. Now, the door, when the door is closed, it is not watertight. You have to engage compression. Some things to note before engaging the barrier. Number one is to make sure that your interface is clean. You'll notice the sill has a bit of dirt here. You're going to want to make sure, especially the corners, are free of any debris, as well as any logs, any bags, things like that. The sill needs to be clear for the door to fully engage. The infrared sensors here, notice that one has no light and the other has a light. That means the infrared sensor is clear. Once I block it, you'll see that we get a light here. And so if you find that the door is not closing and you have full power, the first thing to check is the infrared sensor. Next, if you find that this control box has lost power or is not functioning, the doors come with a functional remote. The remote will engage the open and close cycle. It will not engage the compression cycle, so it is an emergency use feature. As you see, if I press down on the remote, the door engages. On the remote, we can also stop the door with this top button here. Open the door. Stop. For some reason, you lose power and you need to either engage or disengage compression. You can see the pump up in the red up there, as well as the two directional valves on top of it. So if you lose power, the pump can be manually engaged. Here, what I will do is I will engage one of the directional valves. The bottom one controls the horizontal compression. The top one controls the vertical compression. I will move one of the directional valves by engaging it this way. This side is to move it is to compress. If I wanted to uncompress, I would instead screw down the other side and leave this side unscrewed. So once I have this screwed, I'll grab my hand pump handle here, engage it into the hand pump so that I can put pumping the fluid. By pumping the fluid, I'll be able to manually move the oil around to either compress or uncompress any of the cylinders. There's two different cylinder cycles, right? So you have your first cylinder cycle is going to be your vertical compression. And then once it's fully vertically compressed, it moves it as a unit forward and you get horizontal compression, which is why you have two directional valves here. Basically, if you screw it on one side, it'll either compress. If you screw it on the other side, they'll uncompress. And you kind of want to move it doesn't really matter when you uncompress or decompress. You want to make sure they're all uncompressed or they're all compressed. Right now I'm compressing the vertical compression. You can see the cylinder moving here at the top of the panels. See the cylinder moving. Once it hits the pad, you'll see the door is now starting to compress vertically. Basically, you just compress that as much as you can. Once that's fully compressed, I'm going to change my directional valve from the top one, which is your vertical compression, to my bottom one to compress now my horizontal compression. Notice that the panel slowly moves forward. It may take a second for the handbrake to fill with oil, so it's recommended to move slowly. So as a secondary feature, if instead of you want to manually engage pressure, you just manually want to open or close the door and you fully lost power, or for some reason there is an issue with the system, what you can do is run the motor, which controls the open and close cycle, with this manual chain right here. The thing to know when moving this chain is the fact that you have to engage the motor brake at the bottom of the motor in order to actually engage the chain. It's recommended that if you're ever moving the panels manually by chain, have two people do it because you need one person to engage the motor brake and one person to pull the chain. You know, the chain is fully loose. And here at the bottom of the motor is a small switch. This is the motor brake. To disengage the brake from the motor, you have to pull that handle away. And then now, you'll notice that the panels are now moving upward. You'll find that if you ever let go of the brake, Michael probably just gets stuck. Now you can't engage the chain. You have to engage the brake in order to keep moving. So you'll notice also as the brake is engaged, the panels, if they're in a fully configured, the weight of the panels will pull themselves down. This is okay. Again, if you really want to pull all the way up, you have to engage the motor brake, pull the panels all the way up. Once they reach a certain point, they'll be able to hold their own weight inside the panel.
This position, you'll still be able to use if power came back on at this spot.
Yeah.
You'll be able to use this and it'll fully function and raise everything back up.
So similar to the opening cycle, the close cycle will know when the door is fully closed. It will stop itself at the end. Now the door is fully closed, but it isn't compressed. This at this point is basically just a functional garage door. So once the door is fully closed, you engage the compression cycle. You have obviously off, on, and an emergency stop button. Just pressing the compression on button, you'll hear the compression go. The cylinders, and you want to wait till those compression cylinders fully that sound stops essentially to know when the compression cycle. If that sound goes for too long, I would recommend stopping the cycle. It may mean there's an issue with compression. So that is your first indicator. And now that the time is gone, we'll notice the door. So notice the gaps between the doors are almost non-existent. The door is solid, does not move. So now the door is watertight. And once the door is watertight, what you want to do is you want to engage the brace here. At this point, the door is fairly watertight. The problem is if ever there's an impact load or significant flood load, the door will buckle as it is extremely long. So that is the point of this brace. The brace engages here. You'll notice here at the bottom pad, there are set screws at the bottom to basically keep dirt out from the threads in the plate. Remove these set screws is the first thing to do. These set screws can be stored at the same place over here on the removal post where the bolts are stored. Once the set screws are removed, you can move the brace into place. What you want to do is make sure the brace is fully up against the door. Otherwise, as water comes in, it'll move the door and buckle it. You want the brace to be right up against the press door. Once it's in place, you'll see the whole alignment slots here. You can remove the bronze bolt, engage it in the slots. Once you have the bolts about half torqued, you want to make sure you torque them down with an actual wrench. Otherwise, the brace will obviously slide as the flood engages. While that's happening, a good step is to store these set screws on the storage pad so you don't lose them. When you disengage the barrier, the first thing to do is to remove the brace. I should have mentioned earlier that the brace is relatively heavy, around 100 pounds. So you're going to want two people to carry it. As an option, you can disassemble the barrier into 3 pieces to carry it with one person, but we would really recommend that 2 people carry the barrier and work on disengaging it. First thing to do is disengage the bottom bolt. Once the bolts are removed, you can slide the barrier out of the way. Ensuring that we take our set screws and reinstall them to prevent any dirt or water from building up inside. Please note that after the set screws are installed, the bolts have been replaced back onto their storage plate here. So please note that Mike is torquing these down. You don't want to over torque them so that they're not below the surface, but you want to make sure that they are flush so that they aren't a tripping hazard. Once the brace is removed and the set screws are in place, the door can now be opened. You can either select compression off to remove just compression, or select open and it'll remove the compression and open the door at the same time. If I press open here, you can hear the compression cycle disengaging. and then the open cycle starts. Similar to the compression cycle, when it was closing, if that compression cycle goes for too long and you hear it continually running, press stop on the thing and assess why the compression cycle may be over compressing or under compressing. Know the door has stopped itself again on the at the end of the open cycle. That is the complete deployment of the walls and creds roll down flood barrier.